Welcome to Parenting Solutions for Teen and Preteen Education and Behavior, the show for parents who want real root cause solutions for learning, stress, and behavior at home and at school. Hosted by educators Mike Tyler and myself, Ryan Kimball, each episode gives you practical tools you can use right away to get results. Before we dive in, grab our free ebooks, the Parent's Survival Guide, and the Good Choices booklet. Use the click here link right in the show notes. Okay, let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Parenting Solutions for Teen and Preteen Education and Behavior podcast. You're here today with Ryan and Mike, your co-hosts, and we're going to be talking about something that probably every parent has experienced at one time or another, and that we're often asked for solutions to or help with, and that is the subject of temper tantrums. So, Mike, I know you were just telling me a story about this a little while ago about how you helped a young girl with this, I believe it was. So go ahead and kick us off and tell us about temper tantrums and some basic solutions for that.
Absolutely. It's kind of one of my favorite stories. This is quite a while ago, but it's the most fitting story that I could tell. And really what I was doing is helping out the parents. Of course, that they asked me to help their daughter. They knew that I was working in the field of education, and they asked if possibly there wasn't an educational approach to handling the situation. And I said, absolutely, just bring her on over to my office. And that's what we worked out. And this girl was very upset. There's no doubt. She was upset about being dropped off to talk to somebody she didn't know. She was upset, but she was upset at school. She was upset at the YMCA. She was upset at home. She was upset everywhere. And what do kids do when they're upset? Well, they yell and scream and cry and pout and all the other things that any parent doesn't want to see their child doing. And that's where it began.
Gotcha. And you mentioned that there was some very specific educational aspects that you addressed that helped her with this. What were they?
Well, that's true. I just take a real methodical approach and dig into what's going on at home, at school, at the YMCA. And I worked with her her name is Nicole, and I worked with her for about an hour every day for a couple of weeks. And it took some days to gain momentum, to peel back the curtain of what was really going on. And if I've lost a few of the details, she'll forgive me if she ever hears this podcast or hears the story or whatever. But I remember one particular aspect was the YMCA. And I don't know if I have these categories of swimming activities quite accurate, but as I recall it, it was like she had moved from the guppies, right, group of swimming students to the minnows. This was an upgrade from the guppies to the minnows. And it came with she's graduated the guppies and she's moving on to the minnows. But it came up that as she said, she goes, it's just too hard, right? And it's like, you might think this is minor, but this is just a point of stress for her. And, you have to know the language of education to be able to really identify that this is like a real thing. This is not just her. Why was she upset? Well, it's called a skipped gradient. What's a gradient? A gradient is a step-by-step approach to learning things. You have to start out with training wheels on the bicycle before you take off the training wheels, right? This jump from whatever they were doing in the guppies thing was, she jumped from the guppies to the minnows, and either there was missing steps in between or she hadn't fully mastered what they were teaching her in the guppies thing. And so this was one point of upset. And so as part of the Make Nicole's Life Better program that we wrote together as a group. It was me and Nicole and her mom. And it's like, we're writing this stuff out. This is after, like I said, about a couple of weeks, we uncovered all this stuff and we just wrote out this program. We're going to do all these things. And let's get her back in the Guppies program. Nicole, she piped up, she sat up straight and put a smile on her face. She was very happy about that. Right. And that was just a sliver. Right. So,
Wow.
I guess the only other thing that I remember about that particular thing is that Nicole was an avid reader, loved reading. And it came up that when she was dropped off at the YMCA, in addition to the swimming thing, there was apparently a reading period or whatever. She had access to some books, but they only had I don't know if I have the number accurate, but it just seemed like they had 5 books or 10 books. And at home, Nicole had hundreds of books, or certainly dozens and dozens and dozens. But I just remember the disparity, was she was so upset that there was only these few books. She's read them over and over and over, and she just hated it. She's like being tortured. So, why is she so upset about going to the YMCA? Well, she's basically being tortured, right? She's being made to read the same books over and over again. And the stuff that they're trying to teach her in the swimming pool was way too hard. Okay, so that was 2 aspects of the How to Make Nicole's Life Better program, right, that we wrote. Let's see, what else was there? There was this came up. So I actually was going over the word gradient with Nicole, and she was in elementary school, right? But I had asked her if her parents had ever talked about this word with her, and she says no. But they had gone over the idea of learning things step by step. Well, okay, then got this fancy word gradient, and a gradient is like a grade, and I drew it all out on a piece of paper, like a little set of staircase, and I said, okay, you're in elementary school, grades 1 through 6 and so forth, and I labeled 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and up above that I put college, and I asked her, I said, okay, so you're in elementary school, right? And she nodded her head. And I says, well, do you know what elementary means? No, she shakes her head. No, she doesn't know what elementary means. This is the first. Okay, so you're now sending your child, or dropping your child off at elementary school. They don't know what that is, right? So they're already confused, right? Elementary school. Well, I wrote out a few words. It's like elementary means basics, and the basics are the simple things that you learn, and it's related to the word base. And I got her to understand that the basement in her house is like the bottom. That's the base, and we build on the base. And we kind of went over base and basement and stuff like that, and the basics, and what you learn in elementary school. You learn how to read. You learn how to add and subtract. And she's nodding her head and stuff. And I just kind of jumped up to middle school, and I said, no, in middle school, they do math with numbers and letters. And she's like, they do? It's like, yeah. So it gets very complicated. There's more stuff, you learn all this different stuff. And then in high school, you'll see kids learning, they're reading bigger books, and they're learning how to fix bicycles and even work on cars and work on houses and different things. And then some people go to college, and I circled the stuff up top, and I says, in college, they learn, they can learn about things like airplanes and rockets and stuff. And she put her fists on her hip, and she says, we were doing college work last week, and it was easy. And I was like, what? What were you doing? She says, we were cutting up pieces of paper, and we were gluing them together, and we were doing this and that and stuff. And I was like, whoa. I go, hang on a second. I grabbed this little children's dictionary book, and I showed her this word. I said, it looks and it sounds a lot like college, but it's actually collage. And I got her to understand they were making collages. And she's like, my teacher must have said, we're going to do collage work. And I thought she was talking about college work. And I was like, sometimes teachers say things and they don't know that you didn't understand what they said. And she goes, they do? It's like a total revelation to her, right? Yes, that does happen. So you actually have to learn how to recognize when your attention has gone off the rails and learn how to raise your hand or ask questions or find out afterwards where you got confused. You can actually take control of your learning. And this is a huge step forward for her. And, long story short, I'm pretty sure that girl went on to get a master's degree in aeronautical engineering. So she did go to college. She did learn about airplanes and rockets and stuff. And she's successful in her career. And this is just one part of putting people on the road to succeeding in whatever it is that they want to do.
Wow, that is so cool. I love that.
Good fun.
Well, let me bring us back to Nicole came in with temper tantrums,
right,
and being upset about everything. How did helping her understand those areas and going over and changing the gradients affect her state of mind and her temper tantrum?
Well, it all smoothed out very nicely. We got mom's cooperation in getting her back into the Guppies program. We got mom's cooperation in bringing a whole pile of books to the YMCA so that she could have lots of books to read. And, we straightened out some other things. There was another little exercise that we did where we kind of practiced remembering things and just got her skills up on remembering things. And we taught her that if she can be in control of her own memory and remembering what she wants to remember and not sticking in on the bad things that happen, that she can learn things. She can study and she can have fun with things, and she can just disregard what maybe some kid said to her in school or whatever. And so that was a fun little exercise. But there's a whole set of tools here that all goes back to the books that we use and that we are making available to parents. And your basic book on this is the Learning Book. And we'll have to put like a link in the show notes or whatever about where the parents can get this book. That's the first step, is learning the language of learning and education, so that the parents, who are the original educators, I mean, if your kid can tie their shoes, it's because the parents taught them how, probably, right? And so the parents need to round out their education so that they can talk to their kids about what's really going on.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I know from working with people and seeing them find words or things that they didn't understand and then no longer be upset or realize that they even had some sort of, maybe feeling of discomfort or annoyance with the subject because they had a word that they didn't understand. That's it's almost magical. You find the word, you clear it up, and all of a sudden the skies are clearer, so to speak. So yeah, absolutely. And I know parents would definitely appreciate being able to do that after checking out the Learning Book and whatnot. So let me ask you this. I know you've done this probably thousands of times, these type of things. How is it that, not understanding words or not figuring them out in the moment, or these gradients that you mentioned, lead to temper tantrums? What's the connection there?
Sure. Well, any child has the purpose of growing up and being an adult. They start out mimicking their parents and mimicking adults and trying to pretend like they're doing the same type of chores that they see their parents doing. They try to cook in the kitchen or clean with various things, and they're imitating the grown-ups that they see. They have this goal, and anytime they're running into things that they don't understand, they are frustrated in that goal, right? And so every word that they don't understand, every time they ask, what does that mean? And it's disregarded as being not that important. Or people are saying things that they don't even realize they don't know, they don't understand. The kid comes home from school and, what did you learn in school today? And they just shrug their shoulders. They don't know. They have no idea what's going on. They're completely blank all day. They're confused all day. And this just has a cumulative effect of they start getting more and more disconnected from the activity that's going on. And so eventually it blows up. It just boils. It's just a pot of boiling water. I mean, it eventually the teapot makes a lot of noise. You keep heating that thing up, and it just blows. And that's all that's happening. It's an accumulation of many, many different things, and just being concerned or trying to console the child isn't going to get to the actual confusions that were going on. And that's why we need to arm the parents with really the guidebook for how to dig in and find out what these confusions are and help clear them up, make them smoother, make it easier, and help that kid get back in touch with their goal, their natural, innate goal of growing up and being in control of their own life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was very appropriate where you were talking about these things build up, because obviously maybe one misunderstanding or one time of being put in the wrong level of, gym class or swim class or whatever is, just leads to a little bit of temper tantrums, but like 100 times, which is really easy to envision with all the schooling that we do these days and different activities, 100 times things like that happen, or 1,000 even. And then, like you're saying, all of a sudden the teapot boils over and you have a whole situation on your hands, which is sometimes where people end up reaching out, when the teapot's fully boiled over and things are like really hot. And other times I think we catch them earlier, like you did with Nicole there.
Exactly. And that's where we like to catch it, right? That's why this is the teen and preteen, podcast. It's like it really starts as early as 3rd and 4th grade. As soon as they start learning language, and when they fail in school to get the students to really master language at that early level. Those are the basics. That's elementary, right? The old one-room schoolhouse, they had no choice but to get these kids to really master everything that they were studying at that time, because once the kids are out working in the world or working on the farm or whatever was going on at the time, that's it. It's over. They needed to be able to read extremely well so that they could continue to learn and enjoy learning for the rest of their life. And that's what we need to restore.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely. So just so people have a takeaway, let's say, I can just imagine 2 super busy parents with several kids and like, I'm not going to buy another book. And even if I do, I might read it 6 months from now. Who knows? What's one thing that a concerned parent could do to help their child not accumulate these misunderstandings that lead to problems, or accumulate these skipped gradients, or moving too fast and trying to learn or do something?
Well, like any concerned parent naturally does, they're asking their kids how did it go at school, what are they learning. It really comes down to knowing what words mean, and you have to appreciate the fact that and I ran into this just a couple of weeks ago. I ran into a mom, single mom, very busy, working 2 jobs. She's assuming that her child, her 11-year-old daughter, is going to be taught by the school how to read. And yet the mom's telling me, well, the problem is she's dyslexic and has comprehension problems. Okay, well, those are fancy labels, right? But it doesn't solve the problem, right? This saying she's dyslexic doesn't fix the fact that she wasn't taught the alphabet and the letter combinations that make up sounds, right? Any child can be taught how to read. if Helen Keller can be taught how to read, right? A Braille, I suppose. But it's like your child can learn how to read and can master reading. That is possible. So just recognizing that, like, their trouble with, I don't know, they're in a geometry class or geography class, or they're in social studies or whatever it might be later on, and they're struggling. Well, recognize that there's an earlier problem. You have to always go earlier. What is it that they're is out in terms of their basics? What's missing, right? So back it up. If you're having trouble with algebra, did you master the earlier math steps, right? And what are those steps? Well, we can provide a guide for those, but you always just have to get earlier than that. What was going on. Go earlier. If this step, if the minnows is too hard, well, let's go back and look at what was before. Did you master the earlier steps? Let's always take it a step back, right? And the bottom line is the child should be having fun. What was fun before it became hard? Let's go back to the fun stuff. Let's do more of that stuff, right? Let's make it fun again, right? That's what we want.
I love it. Yeah, so simple. And I think it's important that people realize the power of that simplicity, because that could change, and perhaps it did for your story with Nicole, a child's entire trajectory towards becoming what they want to be, whether that's, having a master's in rocket science or whatever she had, right. Or, doing something else that's more in line with that child or young adult's goals in life and whatnot. So the power of simplicities, a lot of the things we go over may sound like, well, I kind of knew that intuitively. Well, that's where it comes to now. We're giving you tools on how to apply. Go earlier, find the thing that's not understood, clear it up, and watch your child then be able to move forward and enjoy, like you're saying, the fun stuff again.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Okay. Awesome. Anything else you'd like to leave people with about this specific area today, Mike?
Well, we could just take that step we just talked about, or that point of learning is fun, and that is covered in this book, the Learning Book. It says in the book that learning is fun. Well, if your child is not having fun, there's something wrong, right? And it is totally within the power of the parents to learn this technology of studying, this technology of learning, and starting with just the terminology, the words of learning things the proper way, so that they can restore fun and enjoyment of learning to their child, which is what will propel them into the future.
Love it. Perfect. Great. So yeah, we will definitely have that link in the show notes if anybody wants to check out that book. And it is a super easy read. I've read it myself and used it with people as well. So it is not like you'd be getting a tome that would take you 6 months of 10 hours of grueling work. It's a really easy read. Probably in an afternoon you could read most of it. So absolutely. Hopefully that gives everyone some tools that they can use with their child and help improve their education and future prospects. That is all for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. We will have this out. And if you ever want to reach out to us, it's learn@thecompetenceinstitute.org for our email. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for listening to Parenting Solutions for Teen and Preteen Education and Behavior today. If today's episode helped you or resonated with you, please share it with a parent who needs to hear it. And don't forget, you can download our free ebooks, The Parent's Survival Guide and The Good Choices Booklet. Just use the click here link in the show notes. We'll see you in the next episode.